Quantos tuo uzuncarum ungularum delectatque contremescit me intro.
One, two, buckle his shoe.
Skinnamarink-a-dink-a-doo.
It's Bill.
Oh.
We're at Bill's house.
Okay.
Apartment. Flat.
Bill's flat.
That's right, guys. We are at Bill's flat, and you know what that means. It's another episode of 13th and Elm. That's right, your favorite horror movie podcast featuring me, Bill. Do I do it alone? No, I could never. I need my two people. Who are they? Introduce yourselves.
Well, he's Rob.
And that's Mykel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, introduce each other. I love that. This week, we're in Sweden.
The whole time?
The whole time we've been in Sweden this whole week. You didn't realize that?
No, I thought we were in Finland until just now.
Oh,
It looks a lot
that would
alike.
explain. That would explain a lot. We've been getting lost a lot.
Well, I asked this gentleman.
My Google Maps is not sick.
I asked this gentleman that we ran into earlier where I could find some salmiakki, and yeah, I was wrong.
That's when you knew?
That's what I know. He looked at me like, "What the fuck is salmiakki?" But mostly he looked at me like he spoke better English than me, which he did.
He did, yeah.
He went to those good European schools.
Did he respond in English?
Yeah, he fucking looked right at me in the eyes. He said, "You Yankee fuck, you can go down and get your salmiakki in Finland. This here's Sweden, pony boy." And I said, "That's not what I thought you'd sound like."
That's oddly colloquial American vernacular for
That's
Swede.
crazy.
Yeah, well, he'd seen The Outsiders. He's a big Coppola fan.
Oh. You guys, got to know each other.
Well, yeah, it turns out he's also a wino. That's why.
Wino?
Yeah, that's why he likes Coppola. And, you know, when you
right.
get the drinks going and you get to talking, because you got to stay warm up here. It's the middle of fucking winter.
It's cold.
I
as
will
fuck.
say I've heard a lot about the Swedish wines.
Well, no, they bring it in from Italy because they're trading. Well, you know what they're
do they
trading.
trade?
Salmiak.
No. Salmiakki is Finnish. I made the same mistake.
Okay.
And it's not Bulgarian miak because that's
It's not
Bulgarian.
seasoned.
Which is a Central European country and not Scandinavia.
No, right. And so I don't really know what they give. I think maybe elderberries.
Reindeer meat.
Yeah. Something that can be upside down if it needs to be. Because they're in the south. No, they're not in the southern hemisphere, are they? Where the fuck are we? What movie did we watch?
Sweden?
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know. You have me. We're tripping right now. What do we take? What did that guy
That's
have?
just tussing. That's
That's big-
robo-tussing, baby. This is
Alright.
straight robo-tripping. This is old school. I don't know what's legal here. I didn't want to go to fucking jail, Schedule 1 for fucking dope or hash coins. I don't
That's
know.
true. We came here. We wanted to do the same thing Rocky did, but we didn't want to go to jail, so we just got really
Free
high on
Brittany Griner.
Robo-tussin, and we watched. Let
Yeah,
the
this shit's
Right One
OTC.
In.
This shit's straight over the counter.
Who?
The tussin.
Oh, I thought you meant Brittany. She can dunk. Is she arrested in Sweden right now?
She's in Russia, and she's spending 9 years in prison. If you didn't know, that's not a joke.
That's a
Wow.
bummer.
Yeah.
Well,
Unfortunately.
raise a glass of aquavit and Robitussin to her.
Yep.
To Brittany Griner.
To Brittany Griner, you shouldn't have brought weed into Russia. Sorry.
There are facts. And we're going to stop with all the facts from here on out and talk about this film, which
And
came
our
out in what,
opinions.
2010?
2008.
No, 2010. We're going to stop with the facts. Keep
Oh,
up the lies.
No more facts. This is Let the Right Run In. And what the
Let the light one in, and it came out yesterday.
Oh, I mean,
we went to
we're
the
stopping
premiere.
with the facts.
We went to the premiere at the Canes 2.0.
Which
We
is in
voted-
Sweden this year.
Yeah.
We wrote and directed
Not
this
Can,
film.
but Canes.
Yeah.
It's by the fried chicken place
Yeah.
Yeah, Kane's presented by KFC 2.0.
in Stockholm.
Yeah. Helsinki.
Helsinki, Stockholm, the little Helsinki neighborhood
Mm-hmm. New Helsinki.
of Finnish expats in Sweden,
Yeah.
which probably it does exist because we're here.
Yeah. With our friends, Anu Norminen and Riku Huvinen.
Remind me their names again.
Anu Norminen and Riku Huvinen.
Right.
And what movie did we all watch?
Let the right one in.
Oh shit! From 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen this film before?
Yeah.
Okay, Bill.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. It's always been on the list. I feel like this is necessary vampire viewing, necessary horror viewing, necessary movie viewing. Just watch this movie. It's pretty much all that I've
Ever heard
known
about
about it. And I figured it was a good time to pick it. We were on our way to Sweden, and I had to pick a movie, and it takes place there, and it's winter, and it's cold, and it's snowy, and
It's pretty much exactly like this.
Sexy. It's this. We're living it.
No.
It's cold. But this movie, hot.
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 This movie's fucking awesome.
It's almost as hot as me in the sweater.
In every
Almost.
possible way.
Not every possible way.
No, he's not
I
wearing
just
the
took a
dog
look,
collar.
a couple. Yeah, there's no collar. There's no leash.
Cable knit dog collar, you little fucking pup.
Ooh.
Oof.
Woof woof.
This film is about a bullied little Swedish boy who finds love in a particular little
Vampire.
vampire.
Yeah,
It's more than that.
It's a lot more than that. This
It
movie
is
is
so much more than that. Honestly, this
beautiful.
movie has a lot to it. It's fucking beautiful, like you said.
Bef-
It's gorgeous.
Before
Go
we
ahead.
get too, let's please talk about the cinematography and just the, I don't know, the color palette. But before we get into any more of that, I have a serious question for Mykel and also Bill, but mostly Mykel.
Okay.
And I just want your honest opinion on the lead actor's haircut.
Oscar?
Oscar, the young boy.
Yes.
It was clean. Kind of coconut. Straight bangs down on the side, blonde. I would wear it.
Mykel?
This haircut isn't fit for my enemies. It's distracting, and I will say it's the worst part of this film. It's actually the only negative I have about this film. But everybody who let that young man on, I wish it was a wig. I hoped and prayed it was on purpose, but I think it's largely a real accident, and that should not be preserved on film. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Strong opinions.
Okay. Starting off with the haircut. Damn.
Beyond the wardrobe.
The wardrobe was bang up.
So I'll ask actually another question, serious, much more serious.
I was dead serious.
Give me a date right now. What year does this take place in?
87.
82.
Okay. So it's got to be at least past the 1970s, and it's definitely before the fall of the Soviet Union. Talking about a lot about Russians and like the commissars and stuff. But I feel like a lot of the wardrobe does have like a lot of like those color schemes, a lot of browns, a lot of greens, taupes, like bigger lapels and stuff. And it might be because they're in more of like a rural-ish area of Sweden.
But also in Sweden too.
And in Sweden too, and Beyond the Iron Curtain and all that or whatever.
Right.
But
mid 70s is the aesthetic.
mid 70s is the aesthetic, yeah. Definitely those.
But I feel like they're a little bit
snowsuit.
further than that. I feel like they're probably a decade ahead of wherever we feel like they are.
It takes place in 1982. Does
Does it say? Okay.
Yeah. I was just saying it. It's 82. But yeah, I agree. The fashion it does might make you think it's a little earlier than that.
Just 5 years or so. Really?
And, yeah. I did like
70s,
the
something.
Spanish coach, Mr. Avila.
He was good.
Holy in the ice.
But man, you mentioned it passing by, the cinematography, and this is great. And we get that really early on too, which is these silent, snowy intros, which is hard to not compare that to Midsummer. Very similar to the intro of Midsummer, which is not a bad thing at all, because both of those intros are fucking great. This is a dark night sky, silent. Well, I think in Midsummer there's music, but the snow fluttering, and in this the silence plays really well. And
The whole movie, the silence is one of the loudest characters.
I was gonna say they do that. This is not the only time in the film that they take away any kind of sound or music to really, put your focus on somewhere else in the film, and they do that really well.
Yeah, no, it's used extremely sparingly in the first half, probably. I think that
first hour of the movie.
We were watching it, and I was like, "Do they even put music in this?" And Mykel's like, "Oh yeah, of course they do." And then literally 10 seconds later, the score started to rise up, and it was like, "Oh okay, yeah, finally." Not that I need that, but it just was wondering because I didn't remember it being scoreless or without sound.
Right.
First watch.
So you had seen this?
I'd seen this movie a couple times, and I'd seen the remake a couple times as well.
I hadn't seen the remake. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's good.
I've heard it's good. People do like it.
It's good. It's almost the same film. It's not quite shot for shot, but it's pretty similar. And it's good. It's still a good story.
When did it come out?
2011?
Yeah, I think it was like 2 years later,
2012,
3
somewhere
years
in there.
later. It wasn't too late after.
Yeah, that's like pretty early.
Chloe Grace Moretz. It's
Yeah.
called Let Me In.
Oh.
But much like another film that got remade with Chloe Grace Moretz as
She's too pretty.
Yes, man, she's too pretty. And it's not really a knock against her so much as it is against the character that's trying to be portrayed. And
Sissy Spacek is beautiful. The woman the young lady who plays the lead in this movie is very pretty too. But Chloe Grace Moretz is not believable as I shouldn't say she's not believable, and that's unfortunate. I shouldn't make an expectation based on somebody's look. But part of that character is
she's
not
right
being
for this character.
yeah,
a dream girl, like super attractive
awkward
woman,
and weird and like mousy and like
stoic
and
kinda
her mom makes her
coy.
clothes and like she needs to fit that part. And much like,
do you think that that's similar in the remake of this one?
I think it's the same vein as in like you're not right for the part, but it's a different. Because like we talked about this a little bit, where the actress who plays the lead, and is she named? I can't remember.
She is named
Who?
The vampire.
the young girl.
Ellie.
Ellie. That's Eli or Ellie. Yeah, it's spelled Eli, but it's
Ellie.
Yeah.
Ellie. Of course, because she signs her notes. Ellie's character and the actress that portrays her has like an almost matronly quality to her, and it's partially her demeanor and her like almost like what do you call it, like an attachment to everything besides until she starts like getting to know Oskar and caring about him and all that, but like everything around her, like she's seen it all like fade away and it'll fade away again, and she's disaffected, and she has like really dark eye makeup, and she just has like a look about her that is very vampiric. I've been here. I might be 12 in my body, but my mind and my soul are, decades, maybe centuries older than that.
She also looks like a woman, and not in like a sexual way. Not like she's developed.
Her clothes.
She's not super young.
No.
The actress is probably about like 16 or so. I would say she's supposed to be a younger
If she was
character
18,
than that.
I believe that.
But what I guess I'm trying to say, and I imagine I sound wildly ignorant, so excuse that. But like, she just looks, like you said, like matronly or womanly. And I guess that like, we've talked about this a lot, is when we watch stuff from a previous generation and we see people our age, we're surprised at how young they are. And I think a lot of it is, like we said, dress and hairstyles. And it's like you grow up seeing your parents who are anywhere in their 20s to 40s or whatever in your memory, wherever that is for you. But, you have this idea of, like, your dad. And it's probably somewhere between, like, 38 and 45 for a lot of people. Like, their dad when they were children. And I don't know. I think that we think that that's so much older than it is when we're young. and a lot of it is like the dress and hairstyle and stuff. And so she has some of that going on for her, just like the way she's presented. But I also think, and like, I don't know, I'm sure there's studies that are way more eloquent and more informed than what I'm about to say, but her facial features and her bone structure, and maybe that's all highlighted by her hair and like the hats and ribbons and stuff like that, but it's all seemingly reminiscent of like the 20s or 30s, like we were talking about. Like, she kind of has like a flapper girl aesthetic, and I think a lot of times I feel like people look like that from that time era because it was popular. So like a lot of what's in vogue and what is immortalized in like fiction or even in photography kind of replicates that. I don't know. It's like if you only saw picture of people from America, from LA in the 1990s, you would assume that all women were 100 pounds with huge fake tits. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying it's like that was a very different aesthetic than it was in the 1960s. And I think that is also a different aesthetic than the 1920s. And they found a way to make that young woman look like she came straight out of that era, which is really apropos in a vampire movie.
I mean, she looks androgynous, like she really does, and
she looks like a girl.
A
I would
lot
say
of that in this film. No, when you first,
I would say that
when you first see her, it really was a moment. It was like, is that a boy or a girl? And there's a lot of androgyny in this movie, and there's a lot of underlying themes of that for the entire film. And if you know the ending of the film, we don't have to jump to there yet. I mean, there's a reason for that, but I mean, when I first saw the character on the screen, I was like, oh, that looks like a boy, and that's on purpose. And her voice was even too high, was too ladylike, and a lot of the time she's dubbed over with a different actor's voice that is lower and more manlike and more like intimidating. Like, she's supposed to, you're not really supposed to know, and we get this theme throughout the entire movie where she keeps saying, would you still love me if I wasn't a girl? And as viewers,
I'm gonna have to jump in and say,
fuck
no.
Vampire.
No, man. It only operates if you think that she's a girl. That's the only way that works.
What do you mean?
Because Oskar is the protagonist at this point in the story. You are experiencing the film through Oskar.
Yes.
Maybe not always through his point of view, but in order for that to function, you have to like be under the guise that it is a girl in order for that question to have any weight. And I'm not saying that the themes that you're touching on aren't present. I'm just saying that for me, it's, you can say like androgynous. I don't know if that's the right word, because it's like they're children more so than they're sexualized by their gender. And I'm not saying that you're saying that they're sexualized, but like they're children. And I do understand her trying to be more intimidating or presented as such because she's a fucking monster. But also, every time I've seen this film, there's been no question in my mind that that's a little girl.
But it's not.
You can say what you want, but
no,
it has
source material. This story is about a male vampire that was turned into a vampire and castrated.
Right, I understand, but like we're talking about a physical body.
Yes.
All right, and so in order for that question to work, you, the viewer, have to be the same place where Oskar is, and that is under the assumption. And like that it's a female, a girl.
To Oskar.
And us, like the viewer, like at that point in the film. And I don't think that that's complicated or muddied by the presentation of androgyny. I don't think that there's a complication of sexuality. There's an implication because that's where all roads lead, but like their relationship in so many ways is so innocent and so pure, and it's really love. Yeah, like it's so much bigger than like exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But that's not to say that she's not feminine or a young girl in a young girl's body. Like, we're not talking about the essence of the vampire
Ellie
or the
is
monster.
feminine.
Not androgynous.
Yes.
I thought that was your strongest starting point in this. That you said that she was an androgynous
Be androgynous and still be feminine.
Sure.
What? You can. You gonna argue against that?
Am I arguing, or did I just say sure?
Well, I'm saying no, but you're not contributing to the.
I feel like I've contributed a lot. I feel like we've had a like an exhausting point. I feel like we've been talking back and forth for 7 minutes about it.
Should we move on?
I'll just maybe.
I'm saying you see a scene where the male genitalia has been removed.
Okay, I'm not sure that qualifies for androgyny, and nor am I really positive that I'm a good person to speak on that.
Should we just move on?
Good convo.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. We'll move on.
Okay.
So we get gore early with those man just being hung and bled like a fucking deer in the woods.
It's good. And
it's an interesting scene because we kind of get this idea that this is like regular for him. Like it seems like it's, every other day he's like gotta, get the food. But also he's just like in the middle of the woods where people are there and like there with their dogs, and he gets caught
like
with their
cars.
dog. Yeah.
Like you're not far from the highway.
Fuck? It's like, how many times have you done this?
A lot. What I would say
like it's sloppy though.
Is what's even better is that like or not even better, but like what is an interesting point about that is like they definitely did that without shutting down like whatever highway they were next to, and that's like a really interesting thing to be happening in the woods when you don't know that it's fake and you're driving by it, and the idea that it's just being done passively behind the eyes, the unnoticing eyes of an audience that would care if they cared to notice. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's kind of the thing that I'm thinking for the guy. He's like, you're like, oh, how many times have you done this? It seems sloppy. He's like, he does it every fucking day. Nobody's there.
So it's like, he's like, that woman shouldn't be there.
They never are.
Yeah.
They never have been. It's not a concern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so routine. That's when you get lazy. That's when you get complacent and shit gets fucky.
Right. And of course, this one now she's fucking got to be walking that whack-ass poodle, whatever. It's not a poodle. It's like a labradoodle or something, but...
It's a poodle.
Poodles are dope.
It's a poodle.
Big poodle fan.
But, yeah, it's kind of like, what are you doing, bro?
Just bleeding this dude?
Just bleeding this dude? Why? We know why.
To feed.
Ellie's got to eat.
Feed Ellie.
Ellie's got to eat. But this is more, we get more Oskar first. We have to be introduced to Oskar. Who's introduced, he lives in like what is seemingly like this low income big building.
It's like a housing project.
Yeah. His parents, we don't see a lot of his parents, and we don't see really any like parental abuse towards him. They do seem to like not get along, and he might be like neglected a lot, but his parents aren't really in it. It's really just focus on him and how he feels alone, and he's bullied at school, and we don't really see him with friends or anything, and he doesn't have a support system. Like when he goes home, I mean, his parents might not be fucking like abusing him, but they're also not engaging with him. They're in the other room doing their own thing, or they're working, or they're fighting, or they're not there.
Doing their best to stay above the poverty line, or
exactly.
at it.
And they don't have time.
It's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah. And I mean, fuck, this is like northern Sweden is like where it takes place, and it's like a really small area where it's like everyone kind of knows each other, kind of feel. There's like a local bar that we get a lot of scenes of, and it's the same people there every time, and we kind of get this weird idea that some, if not all, kind of know what's going on, and they rather just like turn a blind eye. They're like, don't talk about it. We put stuff up in our windows when we go to bed and keep an eye on each other, and we don't really like say shit. And it like is kind of reminiscent of like the slaughtered lamb in American Werewolf in London. It's like, we know what's going on. We're here drinking. We don't like outsiders.
If you want to be safe, you do this.
Yeah.
And if you
don't mess with the formula.
Yeah.
And the formula gets messed with because mostly just of innocence, because of Oskar not being watched or cared too much about, and he's lonely, and he goes out into I don't know what you call it. It's like the little area in between the buildings
playground
of where he lives. Yeah, there's a playground there. And he's like has a knife out, like stabbing a tree, practicing self-defense because he gets bullied all the time.
Scream, pig, squeal.
Squeal, yeah, squeal like a pig. And this is when we first meet Ailey for the first time on the jungle gym. And it's an interesting first interaction because she's pretty much like, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Ailey. We can't be friends, by the way. Bye. And it's like, well, okay. Like, why even come out and
he even says
introduce yourself?
What makes you think I want to be your friend?
Yeah.
You know?
Good comeback.
I have seen this movie a few times, and I honestly, on this watch through, Bill, I did kind of pick up some themes of, like, I don't know, like, maybe gender identity and just dysphoria, and also, like, a lot of these vampire films, man, you watch a vampire that's a kid, but has been around for hundreds of years, and, like, it's a very... It's when it's like a romantic relationship, it's very uncomfortable, and it has a lot of themes of like Lolita or pedophilia because it's not sexual. Like Ailey gets in the bed nude with Oskar, but it's more of like a comfort thing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
it's not sexually charged,
right?
But those tones are still like over it, I guess, in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I'd not consider that, and I'm not familiar or know anything about the source material. So when you brought that up, things, I don't know about like clicked, but it's like, okay, I can see now. And also the shot of the genitalia, which is very quick, I did not catch that as like surgery, essentially.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. This is a pretty good film. A lot of the shots in the jungle gym, I think, are the best parts of the movie.
There are some really great parts. I mean, that scenery is just beautiful, and the way that they have her perched up on the jungle gym most of the time, and like the first time you see her jump off, where it's like
motionless,
she kind of like glides, but not enough that it's silly or
she lands.
It's
like,
supernatural.
It's not light
exactly.
either. But it's not. It's like she didn't land the way she should have.
Yeah.
But she didn't like just touch down.
Yeah. But if you just watch that and you didn't know that character was a vampire, you might not even think
you might not be paying
twice about
attention.
it. But
no, we're all watching because
you're
we're like, how's this vampire lore play out? Does she float? Does she fly? Is she mist?
Right.
Is she solid? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like all that type of
garlic,
shit.
Wood, like,
so like
what
we're
is
paying
it?
attention, but like you might not even notice. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's so great because it would have been. Because there's times when they try to do that and it's just like goofy because they just like fucking like float, you know, like you might think of some shit in like Blade where it's just like very obviously floating down to the ground.
It's more dramatic. It's more comic booky, action
too
hero-y.
obvious, and this, yeah.
I do like how this film, and a lot of vampire films do it well, kind of lays the lore out, and some of it's a little more in your face and some of it's like in the background, but when she has to be invited in, which is the premise of the title.
Yep.
How that plays out, and I don't know, man. It's good. I'm gonna just keep saying that after every bit.
It is good, and that's like kind of the way that she proves it to him. So the word vampire is said in this movie once, and it's when he says, "Are you a vampire?" And the way that she decides to prove it is she's like, "I have to be invited in," and he's like, "Oh, what is there, a barrier here? You can't just walk in, blah blah blah." And she's like, "You want to see what happens?" And she just walks in without being invited, and she just turns around and starts bleeding from everywhere.
It's like
Ebola. Yeah. Which I thought was interesting. You're more versed in vampirism than I am. I've never seen that before. Is there like a vampire movie where it shows what happens to a vampire when they enter without being invited?
I think if anything, it's them bursting into flames.
Yeah.
And it's usually a church, not like you wouldn't invite it into a dwelling. You just can't get in.
Right.
But that's a great trope, and so much of this film is not even about the vampirism. It's about Alien, Oscar's, romance relationship, whatever you want to call it.
It's a love story, and one of them just kind of happens to be a vampire type of deal.
I don't know, but love story is always so confusing, and maybe not as we grow up and learn more about ourselves and love. I'm not even trying to be all fucking weird about this shit, but it's like, this is a love story in the sense that, like, when you see Ellie understand that she's accepted by Oscar, even if there's not like full transparency as to like what it is that he's accepting, even if he doesn't know everything, it's just like the warmth of love and what that power has on somebody who needs it, and like seeing that and then having it acted out by children who kill it. Honestly,
They're
we always say this,
they're so good.
They're polarizing, man. Children in film is really polarizing. When it works really well, but it's a huge risk, and this one was so well done that it honestly just makes love make more sense, and not even in like a sexual way, or not even necessarily in a romantic way, but just in like power of what it can do, and like you said earlier, it's like Oscar doesn't have any like resources. He doesn't have anything at home, and the movie's not really about that, but I'm just saying it's like, well, therein lies what I'm talking about. It's like, if that home was filled with love, it would have maybe turned out differently. And when you see Ellie filled with love, even though like we know it's temporary, and like she knows it's temporary, and like that's part of the problem, that's why she can't be his friend, and it's like, it's just vampirism and love go hand in hand, and with romance a lot of the times too, because it's cyclical and it destroys itself, and like it's destined to fail, or like all this shit. It's kind of misanthropic and like a negative view sometimes, but it's a whole nother thing. But anyway, this movie has a lot to fucking say just about like being accepted and being like welcomed, and like having a true friend in life and what it does for you.
Yeah.
Which is heavy as fuck.
I'm not trying to like be funny, but it's kind of why I like vampire movies. There's a lot of just human condition in a lot of them, and camp and sex and all that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, we've watched a lot of really good movies that are horror movies, big H, and the ones that are high art. If you had to pick one genre that they all come from,
Slasher.
High art.
Slasher.
Wow. Okay. It's okay to be wrong. It's vampire movies, bud.
I had to pick one genre.
Hard to disagree with that, but I had to.
If I had to pick one genre, it might be like silent impressionist film. As far as like high art that stands to play devil's advocate and not just say slasher or like creature feature, like. Vampires up there has a lot. A lot of the times, though, I think at this point, the thing with vampire movies to me, it takes a lot to stand out. It's kind of like zombie movies.
There's a lot of both.
The story's pretty hard to be original on. And then when people do try to get too original, the loyalists and most of the general population gets upset and says that those aren't zombies. Zombies don't run. Zombies aren't getting infected like that. Those aren't vampires. Vampires don't sparkle. Vampires can't go in the sun. Vampires can't do that. So it's a hard thing to do because people are tired of it, but they also, while wanting something new, demand that you remain loyal and purist to something that they love. And so, unlike zombies, where I think there is a lot of cool narrative to be said with like the consumerism and sheep and political division and stuff like that, and those movies do exist, a la fucking George Romero, duh. But the movies are also a really cool vehicle and fun for something that America loves, which is like shoot 'em up action movies where there's a bunch of like hordes of zombie waves, drones, a la fucking Modern Warfare, and people are getting plugged up and killed.
World War Z.
Exactly. And with vampire movies, there is a little bit more of like that immortality, gender identity, sexual identity,
Just
carnal pleasures, and all that shit.
Drama and love in general.
It works out.
Yeah.
It does work out. But the best
There's more
vampire
to
movies
play
are
with.
that we've seen, I feel like, are hardly vampire movies.
Yeah, I agree
Like,
with that. This, like, Only
Only
Lovers,
Lovers, even like Thirst. But like for like a traditional, like straight up like Dracula tale, like Coppola's Dracula, or even like 30 Days of Night, which is vampires, I would say. Big V, hard to argue. Those are also great fucking movies too. They don't have to necessarily be drama, high art about human condition. The vampire story, it opens itself up to that really well.
Yeah, man. I just think more often than not, they're not only the good horror films. They're good films. Maybe not more often than not. Often enough. How about that?
Often enough. There's too many shit
Often
vampire
enough,
films
that's
and
We've
horror
watched a lot of
films.
them
but-
for this
Yeah.
pod.
We do it so you don't have to.
Yeah, Rob just does it.
Love it.
That's true, yeah. But I mean, from what you've heard us talk about, you probably know where this is going. Vampire girl not supposed to fall in love with boy. Guess what happens? They're gonna fall in love and they're gonna hang out when they're not supposed to.
Which is mostly at night, obviously. Mostly
Yes.
unsupervised, obviously.
Unsupervised, yes.
And what do two, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids do when they're left alone, unsupervised, and falling in love?
Rubik's cubes.
Yeah.
Get naked.
What were you gonna say? Or
No,
get
but-
naked.
No, but you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yes.
where do you think the story's going? It's not that
Exactly,
they
that's what I'm
necessarily
saying,
do
yeah.
any one certain thing. It's like, well,
They're gonna get to know each other
yeah.
because we haven't really talked about Ellie's
Friend?
guardian
Familiar?
friend,
Not really a guardian.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like an Oscar. She met him when he was a young boy, and
He knows
honestly-
her secrets, and like she's a child by all accounts, so she can't rent a car or take out a lease an apartment. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things, and I like how like even if they don't
Right.
say it outright, it's like those are the implications of this world. It's like she needs somebody to manage world,
Assets.
like the world, and like almost
Travel.
you get that impression that like Oscar's being groomed for that because she's going to outlive this man.
Yeah.
Who and like this is an expiring timeline. She needs a familiar about every 40 to 50 years to continue to do this type of stuff for her.
Yeah, and we get that feeling from Hakan. I don't remember his name exactly. But it's done well, as in, at least if you're me and unfamiliar, you're like kind of questioning it. You're like, God, are they friends? Do they somehow have some kind of like mutual agreement?
They start off like Oscar, and they are still fucking like or something. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
they've been
and
in love for
then-
40 years or whatever.
And then you kind of get the idea of she might just be taking advantage of him. And we do kind of feel like that with his death because he gets caught at the scene of a crime.
Different one. It's a different than the first one outside.
Yes.
So he's doing this all the time. He's got to feed her.
Like you said, yeah, this is a regular thing for him. So regular, in fact, that he got lazy and almost got caught by the lady with the dog.
And you can also tell, though, that this is the best way for Ellie to keep herself at minimal risk.
Yeah.
And she's not stupid.
She's not doing.
She knows that.
She's not doing the dirty work.
And
She ends up having to, but
and it ends up with this veil where like he thinks he's doing something for her, so that she doesn't have to kill somebody innocent, like all that type of thing. Like
it's a weird dynamic.
Yes,
and I almost feel I know almost for sure that it is explored more in the source material because I feel like it was a little.
What is the source material? Is it like a graphic novel or?
Yeah, it's based on a book.
A book or
yeah,
like
a novel, I believe.
Text novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it almost feels, I don't want to say muddy because that sounds like a knock on it, and I don't think you can knock on it. I think it's just a relationship that was really complex, and they didn't have time in the film to really flesh it out to where it was and where it should have been. But we still kind of get the idea, and I think the way that they show us that she doesn't really give a fuck about this is about him. Is about his death. So he realized he's going to get caught, and he pours like acid on his face to be unrecognizable.
Because people have seen him with her because they just moved into this community. So that's the biggest concern, is that they typically don't see each other, or they're not seen together. That's also part of the degrees of separation Ellie's built in to keep herself protected so that she's not sussed out as a vampire.
Yeah, and like we said, this is a small community. You get caught by the wrong guy, you don't just dip into the crowd and get away with it. There's 30 people there. They know where you live.
And the new guy moved into town with this creepy girl.
Yeah, and is he German? I feel like they hint at, there's a weird bar scene where they're talking about Germans, and they're like, well, there's some Germans, and they give him a look. Oh, is it Russians?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But she goes to the hospital, barefoot, because she hears that someone had been admitted, and I can't remember exactly from how it came across.
It's a radio broadcast that somebody's been caught at a crime scene. Like, she can recognize the crime scene by its description, and
she knows who it is.
Somebody, an unidentified man who'd been disfigured at the scene, yada yada, and she puts it together.
Yeah, and she knows, and she goes to the hospital and tries to see him. And he's in a restricted ward, so she just walks out and scales the building like Spider-Man, which is another scene that, if the wrong people did it, could have come across incredibly silly. But you see the security guard or whatever go outside, and you're kind of like, hold on, there's something up on the building, and you're like, oh, that's her, she's up there, and you notice that she's up there standing still, and then they go inside, and she crawls over to the right window, and it's a cool shot, which could have been ridiculous if done incorrectly, and she's pretty much just like, hey, what's up, drink your fucking blood, throw you out the window.
Yeah, and I mean that scene of the wall climb is straight out of Bram Stoker.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But
which is also straight out of Herzog's Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Well, the novel.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the scene, the visual, it's almost like a shot-for-shot type of similar scaling. It's in all three.
Which, again, they're done well, and all that we're talking about is when it's, not straight on, it's dark, it's not silly. It's something that easily could have been unintentionally humorous, and it's not.
But the way I got his demise was that he owes his life to Ellie, many times over. Probably kind of like Oskar was saved, at the end of the film, which we'll get into. But that's the feeling I got, was that they've been together so long, and she saved him multiple times, that it's not even a life debt. It's his love is, I will kill myself for you to keep you safe, because you're going to live forever and I will die one day. And so if I can die for you, then I'll
might as well. Yeah. Because, I mean, let's be honest. The man doesn't have options.
He spent his whole life taking care of her. He has no family. He has no property. He moves around with her. He kills for her.
Exactly. He's going to be in jail. He's horribly injured and disfigured at this point.
It sounds a lot like love. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to be funny.
He obviously loves her.
And that's what love will have you do. Travel around the world. It'll have you
Pour
fucking...
ass on your face.
No, but like lie, cheat, steal, fucking kill, travel.
Yeah.
Dedicate your entire life to the point where you don't have friends, you don't have family, you don't have career, you don't have other things, that it becomes your identity. I'm not saying this like in a negative way or anything. I'm just saying it's like, yeah, man, like love can be a fucking consuming fire that burns passionately and bright. And I just get the feeling kind of though that it's like what Rob's saying, but also there's like an idea of like its expiration date where it's like contractual to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna die at some point and you're not, unless we fuck this up somehow, and I'm gonna do my best to service that attempt to keep you alive. And you know, that's pretty badass, but it's also, you know, it's cool that we get the murder scene and the face pouring acid burn scene and all this cool shit, but it's also pretty powerful if you want to like reverse engineer it and dissect it. And it's like cyclical, or like the phoenix, you know what I mean, because it's the death of one relationship that gives rise to the other. But it is also kind of like, oh man, this is fucked up, but it's also like nobody falls in love faster than somebody who needs a place to stay.
Oh yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
But also, I feel like this is in a weird way kind of like a mirrored version of like a cancer patient rom-com. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a black comedy.
No, not that. Like, but it's like she's not gonna die. It's like the opposite. Like he is going to die because he's fucking 50 or whatever, and she is trying to like, but she needs all the help and medical attention, and like she needs him to take care of her. But she's also starting a new relationship with Oskar and trying to like, I don't know about groom, but like kind of like create that while he's on his way out the door, and then he finally dies, and it's, I don't know, it's like all that was always going to happen, and it's not sad, it's like, well,
exactly,
I'm going to take your life force, literally your fucking blood, because that's all you have left to give me.
And you give me everything. It would be a fucking insult to not take it.
Exactly, it would be shitty.
At this point, you've dedicated so much, like, I don't know, because I've been in that fucking point where it's like, I don't know, you have these crazy conversations. This is getting into some weird shit right now. But it's like, if somebody breaks into this fucking house and I am fighting a man with a fucking gun and you do not get as far the fuck away to safety, I'm going to fucking kill you afterwards. Like, I'm not putting my life on the fucking line for you to sit there and scream and please take this and go. I know that sounds extreme and crazy, but it's like, I love you. I'm dying for you. Please don't take that in vain. Like, if this could be of some service to you, get to a police station. Don't also get killed 15 feet away from my dead body. I bought you 4 minutes. I wish I could have done more.
That's true. And I like that. I don't like that you only looked at Rob when you said that, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, we live together, so you know, so bring into our apartment.
Yeah, that is also true. I think I'm the bigger of us. Like, if somebody comes into this fucking apartment and tries to kill us both, and I am fighting for our lives, you better fucking run.
I will.
To Bill's, like, bring him back. He's big.
Bring me back.
Yeah, bring you back. Yeah.
Well, you got all the guns and the dynamite and the explosive.
Look, come get me. I'll get my gun.
Large man. Yeah, all your guns. If some large man breaks into my apartment, I'm first going to try to suck his dick, and if that isn't, I'm going to scream for you.
If he doesn't have to let you suck his dick, he's not going to let me suck his dick.
No, that's not. No, you fight him.
Mykel, come try to suck this guy's dick. He's robbing us.
Great. You're Rob. Robbing us. Which brings me to my next point. If you would subscribe to our premium Snapchat, Rob and Us,
.com.
That would really help us get some other projects off the ground.
Yeah, we're looking at, we're up to almost to the 50s of blood dick, and no one is taking the bait. We need money, folks.
We spent all of last fucking week trying to get Rob pregnant, and we succeeded, but now we don't have any fucking financing to get this shit on film for blood. Because not only did we not get any fucking financing, we wouldn't find anybody to cast in the lead for a baby shower. So now we got that problem solved. We just need the film equipment to record this because we've already sacrificed this baby. Right, Rob?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's consent.
Shit.
And you're all witnesses.
We can make another one.
We can try.
Back to the film.
What did we watch again?
Let the Right One In.
Oh, yeah.
And a big theme of this movie is
Male
Oscar
pregnancy. Oh, Oscar.
getting pregnant. Being bullied and being on his own and not knowing what to do.
What's the bully's name? Connie?
Connie's the main one, yeah.
Shout out to
Ellie,
Male's name, Connie. It's a dope name.
Shout out.
Constantine?
Mm-hmm.
I know one, Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
That's the only one. She is kind of like, they're going to keep bullying you if you don't stand up for yourself. Like, hurt one of them hard.
Harder than you dare.
Hard. And like, they won't fuck with you anymore. And he's kind of like, all right. And they go on a field trip, which is
yeah,
to
a lake to ski.
Yeah.
Like ice skate.
Which is cool. It's like, okay, this is a Swedish field trip. They're like ice skating and just walking around.
Well, there's lots of instances of like rural Sweden, right? Like there's like a time where like they're like riding on snow machines just out in the middle of nowhere, fun and things like that. It's like, yeah, that's Sweden for you. They do a pretty good job of making it seem like it's pretty isolated.
Sexy Dad's farm.
Yeah, Sexy Dad.
How sexy was that
Sexy
dad?
Which dad?
The sexy one.
Oscar's dad.
Yes, he was sexy.
He was.
He was really sexy.
Salt and pepper
Not
boy.
in it enough.
You're right. Not in me enough.
But we get this. We get this part of Oscar finally standing up for himself, and it's him taking a hockey stick to the side of Connie's head.
No. It's the stick that the guy used to push the body down into the lake.
Oh, is it?
He finds the orange push stick.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Damn. So yeah, so there's more story behind that stick than I thought.
It's a clearance stick.
Fucking thwacks this kid, and it's
Ruptures the eardrum.
not. Yeah, and at first you're like, damn, that was a solid hit, and then you're like, oh,
he
that
fucked him
kid
up.
is
Screaming
hurt
and bleeding.
And sure enough, he pretty much like lost an ear, had to go to the ER and shit, and he's like proud of it. He goes back there, he's like, oh, I hit him so hard, he had to go to the ER. And fuck, and I mean, there's gonna be repercussion for that, right?
Yeah, real quick though,
it.
if you're a bully and you listen to this, grow up. But if you are
Fuck off.
child, like if you have a child who's a fucking bully or you hear about that shit, you need to, dude, bullies suck. And
Puncture their eardrums.
I hate to say, like, I want to beat the fuck out of your bully kid, because I won't, because I don't believe in bullying with bullies. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, tattle on him.
Yeah,
3
for
lives
real.
make a right.
but
Tell
don't,
an
dude.
adult.
That shit's fucking horrible. It's really, really shitty.
Yes.
And fuck that little shit Connie kid for getting what he deserved. Honestly,
People kill themselves over that.
that's true.
Yes. Yes, that is true. It's horrible. But unfortunately, you know, it's a 1v4 or so situation, and you hurt one of them, they're gonna
bigger.
come back at you. They're bigger, they're older.
And these are fucking
and they're
it's always like this.
crazy,
They come from a better fucking spot. Like they're more organized. They have the nice things. They can be shitty and get away with it.
They can be shitty.
It's
We
fucked
don't
up.
see any of their families or anything, but I mean, it's
You get the
obvious-
impression.
It's obvious that one of the reasons that he's getting bullied is because he's poor.
Poor.
That fucking
Because
haircut.
Because his parents are divorced.
Right. And I mean, we get to the iconic scene of the movie. I would say
I'd say there's several,
There are
but this is-
several, but this is the.
Yeah.
And we get a note from Eddie that pretty much says, "I'm gonna die if I stay, but I'll live if I leave," or something along the lines of that. And he's like, "Damn," he's kind of experienced in heartbreak. She's gone. He loved her. he didn't know. He doesn't know what to do now. He was the reason why he stood up to his bullies. Like, what is he gonna do? And he gets a phone call from a bully, and I don't know if this is like one of the main ones or kind of one that
He's one of the toadies or like part of the posse, but he's also in the weightlifting group.
Yeah, you can tell he's not fully in on it. He's kind of like being bullied into be a bully, which also a lot of people
happens all the time.
Like me in middle school, literally was bullied into
Nazi
being
Germany.
a bully for years.
You can't beat them, join them. It's like every fucking Stephen King bully. It's like
Yeah,
it's not even,
pretty much.
or just even
Or
kids
that.
on the corner as fucking gang
That's what I said.
gang life. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do? And so he pretty much calls up Oskar and is like, hey, like, you coming down to this? Like, we want you here.
You know,
And he's
Mr.
like,
Avila is like looking to see if you're coming.
And he even mentions, he's like, oh, like, Connie says he knows he was being a dick. He got what was coming, and he's like, really? Which is crazy to me. That this just sounds unbelievable.
I thought he said that Connie got what he was coming
Maybe
to him,
that's
and he was a dick, and he agreed with what he did.
That's probably what it was. But either way, he agrees and he goes, and we get like this fun little scene
Shot.
at this pool.
We get the shot of all of them behind in the phone booth, like
Yes,
being like,
that's
"Oh,
a
what an
good
actor!" You
shot
know,
as
"Oh, he's still
well.
so good" with the older brother.
Yeah. And then we're at the pool. And there is an adult there. I guess it's like the gym
coach.
teacher, and he's great.
The Spanish
he's
guy.
not a big character,
Yeah.
but he's at the end of it,
aqua
like,
aerobics.
stepping, doing the aerobics and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. And then the bullies start a fire outside and come in and be like, oh, there's a fire. Gets the adult out of the room. That's the big one. Lock him out. Bullies come in. Get the fuck out. All the other kids, get out. And this is when we know, oh shit. And Oscar's in the pool at this point, and when the bullies kind of kick everyone out, he's the only one in the pool, and they're all kind of around. And that shot just by itself is like really unnerving.
It's intense. He's also like drinking that whole pool.
It's shot
I don't
very
know
well.
what
It
it
doesn't
is.
look like he can
Oscar
swim.
has his whole mouth open every time he's in the pool. Just
He's like puppy waddling. That's not what it's called.
doggy paddling, puppy waddling. I
What
mean,
the
if you want to see
fuck?
some puppy
That's way
waddling, we can
sexier.
talk about it later.
That's why sexier. You know what I mean, though. But like you
Yeah,
said,
doggy
he's
paddling.
like,
Doggy paddling,
he's
like I said.
doggy paddling with his fucking mouth open.
He's like trying to tread water, but he's just like swallowing chlorine.
yes,
And piss. They don't call it what it is.
piss,
Piss.
and chlorine. But like the way it's
That'll make you puke in a
filmed,
tub.
just like his head just peeking out of the water, and all these people kind of standing around watching. You kind of know what's happening, but not this kid is. The bullies are gonna get revenge on him. You don't know how, but like the way it's like he's set
screwed
up
the brother.
for
He like
failure. Yeah, one
he
of
was
the kids
bullying
is
Connie
older.
earlier
Yeah.
in an earlier scene.
Yeah, so it's not even a student. I mean, he's a student,
Well,
but
he's
he's
like,
an older
You
student.
know who I am, right? So you know how this has to go.
Yeah, and and you're like, oh, this kid's a piece of shit, which makes sense because
Yeah.
his little brother's a piece of shit. And he's pretty much like,
Well,
yep. Go ahead.
You hold your breath for 3 minutes.
It's getting fucking
And if
cold
you
out
can't do it, I'll take one of your eyes. An eye for
Eye,
an ear.
eye for an ear.
Come here. And he starts holding Oscar's head under the water.
Which is a
And
great scene because you only see Oscar's face under the
and,
water
and the,
struggling.
and the hand holding
and the
his
hand.
hair. And then you see a couple shots of the clock ticking, like the lap clock, on the on the wall.
It's moving, but it's not making any noise, which is even better. It's just
And then you start hearing the screaming.
yeah. And then you hear this is still from just filming underwater where
Submerged.
you see Oscar's.
You don't really hear it like you would if you were on a different
Underwater.
POV.
No, you hear it like if you're underwater.
Right.
And it's
It's
great.
muffled.
It's like some muffled screams, and then
Like you know what it is because you know what it is. You know what it is. It's not because
You know
it
what
sounds
it
like
is.
that right
'Cause
away.
you know what's coming.
Right.
But then you see like one kid's
He gets
feet like
drugged,
dragging
yeah.
through the water like
which
at
that
like level.
shit is
It's really good.
is so goddamn good.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that you see is just a boy's like the last 6 inches of his ankle just being dragged through the top of
Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Also, though, like this whole thing
Quickly,
was
and you're
like
like,
clearly an inspiration for like some of the scenes
It
in the iconography, and
Follows.
it follows right because
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
most
final scene,
definitely.
but also
Final
like
full
just
scene.
those like scenes of not being able to see the force moving something. And it's not that you can't see Ellie, that she's like some phantasm, like 'cause she's
It's
still
the
a girl. It's
shot.
just the shot. Like
Yeah.
you don't get to see
No.
her from that angle because you're still focused on Oscar's face, which is still underwater and still submerged and still
And
has a hand
struggling.
on top of his head.
Struggling, and we see a decapitated head fly
Fall
through
into
the
the
water,
water.
in the background.
This is all behind Oscar, who with closed eyes, struggling still with
That's
a
it.
hand on his head.
Until
It
The
falls in
arm
front of
falls,
him.
yeah.
until
like,
said
chopped off.
hand, and this is after we know the carnage that's happening.
The blood is falling in the water from like the severed heads and
Yeah,
limbs, and
it's
like
getting
the
gray.
water is
But that scene is great, where the hand holding him under just
Great. It's fantastic.
and like
falls
you can
away.
see like the realization of like, oh, I can, oh, I can come up, like I'm up,
He-
like, you know what I
he
mean?
gets
It's like,
pulled
oh
out.
shit.
He gets
he
pulled
gets
out.
pulled out.
Right, but there's like that moment of like it's not being pushed. He's not being pushed.
Mhm.
Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't come up, but it's kind of like because the whole time you see him and he's like wincing against
Well,
like
he feels
the
like
inevitable.
I guess like the loss of pressure being
Yes,
held, and he's
kind
like,
of and then he's up.
yeah.
But, you know,
And then you see a quick shot of like the carnage, like zoomed out, and then it's
And it's
Oscar
an
and Ellie
amazing-
looking at each other and their
and
faces
it's
close up.
Such a good shot because it is so
And the one
beautiful and romantic, but the beautiful and romantic shot is a wide angle shot of a pool surrounded by
dead children
by
and blood
brutally
and
killed
limbs,
teenagers, but you're not
and
thinking
one kid crying in the corner because
and
he
one
sat
kid
out
left alive.
and he didn't participate.
and you're seeing this and you kind of are like,
You're
man,
just-
you should be thinking like, oh my god, these dead kids, this is horrible, but you're like, oh
hey,
my
hold
god,
on, this is 13th and Elm.
We
We
love
love
dead
that kids
No,
in movies.
I was getting there, and you get to where you're like, oh no, like this is great,
getting
like all these people were horrible, and you're not even focused on that, even though like 6 teenagers were just
You're focused on
brutally
Ellie and
murdered.
Oliver.
That's not the focus of the scene. It's the fact that Ellie came back and helped him when she said she would, because I think there is a
She
point
was
where
watching him.
he's like, well, there's blah 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 of them and one of me, and she's like, I will help you if I need to. And there's no like how I don't know you, you're like, he just trusts her off the bat, and
That's
Yeah,
all
for
she
good
needs.
reason.
That's all she
He honestly
needed.
and
has
someone
to.
trusted her, and
Yeah.
she loves that.
Yeah, man.
And this scene is absolutely, like, I don't want to talk about it more, but it's like, it's one of my favorite
This movie made me
scenes.
cry a couple times watching it. It's beautiful. The love story in it upon this viewing had a lot more gravity than it has previously, and I've always revered this movie for its ability to tell that story, but I don't know. Shit's hitting different these days, as the kids say.
And I mean, there's big parallels to Only Lovers Left Alive. Like, I mean, yeah, in that one, like, they're both vampires, but the fact that we were talking about how, like, yeah, some of the best vampire movies are barely even vampire movies. Like, they don't, like, they say the word vampire in this one once, and, like, in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, like, I don't even know if they really say it at all, and they don't say it a lot in
They don't see it in
Only
Perfect
Lovers,
Dark.
but
It's like a whole fucking thing, vampire movies, whether or not they acknowledge the
Right.
word, right?
right.
Got fangs, drink blood.
Because instead we just get, you know, would you still
Tang tang.
love me even if I wasn't a girl, instead of even if I wasn't a human or something.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful, honestly.
It really is. And Oscar's face when they look at each other when he pulls her out of the pool, it's just like pure joy, even though she's covered in blood.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Dude, and like
Beautiful.
also like fuck.
Kids. Dead kids.
You either
movies.
like have felt this way or wanted somebody to feel this way about you or whatever, but it's like whatever that motivating factor that drives somebody to be so protective of you, whether it's like a parental love, you know, the like mama bear type of thing. You know, don't piss off mama, she's gonna fucking kill 7 children for you. Or if it's like, oh, my protector, like you can't come into this house and like threaten my safety and my family because what I've built here is protected because of this arrangement. I don't know how exactly to say that, but it's like there's a lot of that I don't know, that's a manifestation, or like there's a lot to say about that in regards to love and how secure love promotes like the feeling of security. And just knowing that not only did she save his life in the sense that like he's no longer being held underwater, but the world is so much safer when she's in it, because like he went under that water and found a threat in the world that he left behind didn't have Ellie in it, and like when he came back above the surface, like his protector was there, and like he was able to feel peace.
Then they elope.
That shit's beautiful, man.
Which is a great ending, because we get some bits where they learn Morse code, and they're leaving, and she's in like some kind of
The Christmas tree box,
or something, and they do Morse code to each other that they have learned, and then we pretty much get credits and great music. Do you know what the Morse code is that they tap on the box?
No.
So they say puss, which is P-U-S-S in Swedish, but it translates to kiss. So they Morse code kiss to each other through the thing as they're leaving, and then it ends.
It's cute.
Which is a cute ending.
Mm-hmm. Well, to that, you know, Puck, I just say, hike to Vistu. And, you know, it's fucking getting cold out here. I would say since the sun went down at around fucking 1 p.m.
I was about to say, it's been down all day.
It's been pretty chilly, but this was a great pick and a great place to watch it with friends. And the stew tonight, what was that called? Klopske? What is it?
Cool-ups.
Co-ops, yeah.
We probably all don't know how to say it, even though the locals have told us several times. But I'll tell you what,
It was pretty good.
They might not know how to teach us stubborn Yankees, but they know how to feed us. That shit was good. That shit was good.
Feed this Yankee.
I don't know. We should start with maybe wrapping this up, because we got a long journey. Before we talk about where we're going, maybe Bill, go ahead, and then we'll get to me first? And I'll announce it. Yeah, so Bill, go ahead.
I picked this movie. It's been on my list for a while. It's been something that I've caught bits and pieces of, but I don't think I've ever seen front to back. And I mean, after watching it, it's like, yeah, I've definitely not seen this front to back. And also, Rob didn't pick a vampire movie, and that made me want to pick a vampire movie. Was part of it as well, which was fun. But I really, really ended up liking this movie. The mood, the setting, the cinematography, the score, the everything. It has so much to say. I mean, we didn't even cover it at all. If we did, it would be another Midsummer episode, and I don't think anybody wants another one of those. But this movie has a lot to say. I think it has a lot to say about the trans community, which I really like. Like I said, from the novel is about a male that was castrated and turned into a vampire, and that's why we see this genital scar, and there's some androgyny with Ellie in this film, and we get the line, "Would you still love me even if I wasn't a girl?" And we kind of think as viewers we're like, oh, she's saying it because of vampire, and it's like, oh, is it multiple reasons, and she wears a sweater that is the colors of the transgender flag for a lot of the film. So I think there's a lot of metaphor for transgender people in this movie, which we don't get a lot in horror, and I really appreciate it for that and for every other reason that we have already talked about. I mean, this movie will pretty much make anybody emotional, I feel like. I mean, it's a beautiful love story. It's really hard to not relate to at least one of the characters that has something happen to them that's a big impact, whether it's feeling like you can't go out and you're kind of barred and held from society by someone, or whether you feel like you're alone from just because of how you are, not because anyone is forcing you from being alone and going on the outside. You just feel alone, like you don't have friends, you're feeling out of place, you're bullied. Or even if like you are a bully, you kind of see it kind of from that point of view, like you know, you kind of see like the effects of that and how it makes people feel, and it's like really powerful in that way. And I think even more so, and this was probably not even done on purpose, but I think that even has more impact, especially this days, on like an American audience, where it's like, I don't know about like you guys, but it's like kind of seeing Oskar and how he looked and acted and how he was treated. It's like that's, you know, like he has a lot of attributes that of like a school shooter or like a murderer or like something that is very real and very scary.
Well, he's not American.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I know I didn't say that. I'm saying it could have more effect on Americans because of just like how that's portrayed, because he might just be like really badly bullied like in Sweden, but people that are really badly here
grow up with automatic
sometimes-
rifles in their homes.
Yeah, and are able and are willing and able to kill innocent people or themselves or both, and it just kind of adds this whole kind of layer to this movie. At least for me it did. This movie was great. There's not a ton of gore in it, but what is in it is good, and like the sound effects and all that is good. And a fun little tidbit is they had people eating sausages into the microphones for the sound effects of flesh tearing and stuff, which I thought was fun, and people eating yogurt for the blood drinking. But yeah, I'm glad I picked this movie. I'll watch it again. I would recommend it to a lot of people, unless they were people that didn't have a good taste in movies. I give this a 91. Next.
Oh, me? Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of what Bill said. It's a very beautiful movie. It's well shot. It's extremely well acted, especially considering that the cast, outside of like mom, dad, and maybe one or two teachers, is all children. Yeah. It's particularly well acted. It's beautiful to watch. The score is, I don't know about memorable, but it's done in a way that is extremely effective and is memorable in that sense.
Perfect.
Like you said, the silence is a very loud, character in the movie. A lot to chew on, both as just from film and also metaphorically with what's going on. And I don't want to dig too much more into it, but I saw this film through kind of a different lens, and I've seen it a few times, and things hit differently. So I don't know. This isn't my favorite vampire movie or even my favorite artsy vampire movie, but it is very good, and I think that you should watch it, whether you like horror or not. I'm going to give this movie an 85.
Right on.
Well, I've probably seen this movie 4 or 5 times now. Saw it not long after it came out. Was a fan of it then. Watched it again, showed it to a couple people. Was a fan of it. The people that I showed it to, they've always really enjoyed it. And I think I probably just grew out of it in some ways, or convinced myself that I had grown out of it because I'd seen it a few times. It's talked about a lot maybe I felt like it didn't have anything to offer me again. And not necessarily when I sat down to watch it most recently for the pod, but just kind of over the last 5 years. I hadn't thought about it as much and hadn't seen it. But what has happened over the last 5 years is quite a bit in my life, and travel, grow a little bit more experienced, share some life events with some people, and I really looked at this in a different lens as well. And even though it was a movie that I appreciated and I thought was a good film and had a lot to say, it's a movie that every time I've seen it, it's had something different to say, and I won't dare underestimate it again to suggest that it won't have that effect an additional time. This movie's beautiful. It's really well acted. It's just important, and it's special to me. If I give Tremors a 90, fuck. Questions. We're talking about some of the best movies that we've watched, in my opinion, on 13th Elm, like 90s and above. We're talking about Dead Alive and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Only Lovers Left Alive, Nightmare 3. I think this is up there. Thirst, fuck. We watched some good vampire movies, and this is not my favorite because I just found my favorite movie this year. Rob, again, shout out. But this one's high. So am I. So I'll quit rambling and I'll give it a 91. So then, is that what you gave it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fuck. I'll give it a 91 because it's a little bit better than Tremors. Tremors scores high on nostalgia for me, but this
You can't
hits
rate
on it.
Tremors higher than this. It would just
I
wouldn't
can't.
feel right.
I can't. For me personally.
did.
No. Oh shit. I'm with you on that. Like it's this. I don't remember what I gave Tremors.
You wanted
but
to give it a 90, but I think you gave it an 85.
Yeah, that sounds about
Well,
right.
you
Oh, yeah,
gave
you guys
it an
both
85,
gave
and
it
we
a
both gave it
90.
a 90, and you were like, well, I want to give it that, but I'm going to stick with my 85,
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
But
Yeah,
whatever.
we're grading, above average papers here. This one's just really good to me, and it's a hard act to follow, but that's the task that I am looking at right now.
Follow it.
Well, you're going to say, what are we watching? Where are we going?
What are we watching? Where are we going?
Who's in it?
Who's in it?
Who
Who's in
directed it? All these things. But I'll tell you right now, we're going to be heading back to the U.S. of A.
Finally.
We got to make a quick stop up there in New England. We're going to be doing I've been talking to you guys about this because we were talking about maybe swinging by and doing one on campus. So this is actually,
Yeah.
we're going to be live on campus. We're going to be live at the campus of Miskatonic University.
Oh,
And-
Miskatonic.
And we're going to be doing Stuart Gordon's 1985 classic, which is a Charles Band production. You might know it as a little movie called The Reanimator.
Oh.
That's got Jeffrey Combs in it, right?
I think it's got Barbara Crampton in it too.
Oh my God, Barbara Crampton is my
I don't know what voice that was.
favorite.
But yes, Jeffrey Combs is in this.
Jeffrey Combs is my
I
favorite
think
too.
it's got Barbara Crampton in it.
I think you mean my hit song Pina Colada Berg.
Sorry, I just got really excited. I
Have that
Love-
reaction when you hear about B Cramp?
have
The
no
animator.
this movie. This is one of my ATVs.
All
What
time
is-
favorites.
Favorites?
This is one of my all-time faves, baby, and I cannot wait to talk a lot about it.
Good. Good.
Good.
All right. Any last comments?
Where are we again in this? Salem?
No, we're going.
Miskatonic University.
Yep,
Oh,
Miskatonic
yeah.
University.
I believe it's Arkham.
Yep, it's in Arkham,
Massachusetts.
Arkham, Mass.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in Arkham, Mass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Miskatonic will be there.
Thank you for having us.
I think we're gonna be giving a seminar after Dr. Herbert West's Biology 101.
Yes. And what is the title of our speech?
The
Again?
title of our speech is Screech from the Dead.
Okay, so
Oh.
yep, we got Biology 101 and then Screech from the Dead.
Oh.
Don't miss it, folks.
Wait, what? Okay. I thought it was Shib Nagoreth and its origins, but sure.
No, that's our TED Talk.
Oh, that's right. That's a TED Talk. I confused those.
And then you're leaving and we're doing a Twice Talk.
Oh, that's right. I'm leaving.
Talk that talk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're going to
we're
do a Twice
Talk
Talk
That
that
Talk.
Talk.
I'm gonna do that cock that cock.
Which is a 6.
What does that look like?
You want to find out?
Are we going to be involved?
You can be.
Well,
There's a sign-up sheet.
Your feet won't
At
touch
the
the ground
gym.
if we're involved.
What do I have to put on the sign-up sheet besides my
Age,
name?
phone number,
A consenting, like a fucking signature.
Height?
height.
I'm 6'5".
Oh yeah, you're definitely in.
Me too. We could
You're
spit roast this
in
little
like
bitch.
in like swimwear.
We might kiss sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys could kiss while you fuck me.
We could.
We could.
Sounds
Tune
kind of
in-
gay.
Tune in next week. The Venmo's in the description. Venmo $50 and to see me and Mykel kiss
Spit
while
in
we're
Rob's face.
fucking Rob.
Thank you, Omers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, pull up with us, watch two films.